After I was abducted, my girlfriend Liu Ryan fell in love with a substitute. She even let the substitute replace everything about me. My mother became his mother. My home became his home. My career became his career as well. After I was rescued, I posted a Weibo, but it went unnoticed. A minor imperfection, put out for 0 yuan. But unexpectedly, it went viral. The silent film emperor has returned. No more need to watch the awkward acting of that copycat. Turns out, there are some things that cannot be replaced. In the 3rd year of my abduction, I was saved. After giving my statement at the police station, they handed me a phone. Do you still remember your family's contact information? I stayed silent for a while. Of course I remember. At the beer's house. I once took a huge risk and used a landline to call Liu Ryan. It even connected, but no matter how many times I called her name, no one responded. In the brief, precious seconds I had, all I heard was the warm daily chatter over the phone. My mother, Yenner. Mom made you bird's nest soup. Take it with you to the set. An unfamiliar man, Mom. You don't need to work so hard anymore. Ryan hired a chef for me. Liu Ryan, yes, auntie, don't busy yourself anymore. I'll take care of Chu Yunfei. The man's voice sounded a lot like mine. But that didn't matter. What mattered was, I heard that my mom had a son, and Liu Ryan had a new boyfriend. That one call. I was caught by the beer. He beat me to within an inch of my life. After that, I never had the chance to call home again. But it doesn't matter. I had already given up hope. I wasn't really interested in going home. But my mom and Liu Ryan came to pick me up. However, my mom, with tear-filled eyes, hugged me tightly and sobbed bitterly. You're still alive. Thank God, you're still alive. Feeling the warmth of my mother's touch. The heart I thought had died started beating again. Mom, it's okay, I'm back. We're going home. My mom wiped away her tears, took my hand. Liu Ryan, with red-rimmed eyes, also reached out her hand toward me. She said nothing. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and tenderness. I raised my eyes briefly, then lowered them again. President Liu has a new boyfriend now. Liu Ryan was speechless, just staring at me, completely lost in thought. And in the next second, a man burst into the police station. Mom, did Ryan finally find her brother? His voice was deep and magnetic, sounding very much like the old me. Was this the man from the phone call? Slowly, I raised my head, wanting to see his face. But in an instant, I froze. This man. He looked just like me. He stood there, an exact replica of who I used to be. And I looked down at my shadow, swaying and unsteady on the ground. I no longer knew who I was. What's wrong? Quick, take him to the hospital. For reasons too embarrassing to mention, I had lost the ability to have children. After I came out of the operating room, I overheard my mother pleading with the medical staff to keep it confidential. My son used to be a public figure. These things about him can't be known. He's been through enough already. He can't handle more. Gossip and rumors. I turned my face aside. Tears kept falling down. My mom held my hand tightly. It's okay, Mom will stay with you. Always stay by your side. My mother's hand was always warm. Just as I felt a fleeting warmth that I hadn't felt in so long, that boy ran back in again. Mom, is brother okay? I heard he was Yunner. Stop talking. Your brother is still very weak. You should go outside, but I want to stay with him. He was so bright and lively. My heart ached uncontrollably, noticing my pale face. My mom quickly sent him away. Don't mind Yunner. He's just a child. My mom's voice, full of affection. Who is he and why is he calling you Mom? My fingernails dug into the bedsheet. I couldn't help but ask. He's the adopted son I took in. His name is Chu Yunfei. My mom took a deep breath. You have no idea how hard it was for me. While you were gone, she hugged me and cried again. But after a while, her phone rang, and she rushed out in a hurry. She didn't come back for a long time. I couldn't get out of bed. I could only grow more anxious. But at that moment, my phone rang. It was the one my mom had left beside me to pass the time. I thought it was her calling, but to my surprise, it was from an unfamiliar number. When I picked up, the voices of 3 people filled the call. My mom's caring voice, Yunner. Eat a bit more, Chu Yunfei playfully said. No. I'm on a diet, Liu Ryan, so thin and still dieting. It was such a warm scene, but in comparison, my hospital room felt even colder. At that moment, I instantly understood. Chu Yunfei had been doing it on purpose all along. He was afraid of my return. My mom came back just in time for dinner. Yunner, I'm sorry, Mom. Had something urgent come up. She seemed especially nervous and guilty, like she had done something she didn't want me to find out. I forced a smile and told her it was okay. Will I be discharged in a week? When I get home, can I kick Chu Yunfei out? I asked my mom. She was stunned for a long time before saying, Yunner has been very good. I can't. Then I'll leave. I made up my mind. Liu Ryan came to visit me with flowers in her hands. I thought she wouldn't have the nerve to come. To think, the reason I was abducted was because of her. Back then, she had been seriously injured and kidnapped. I offered to exchange myself to save her. I handed myself over to the kidnappers. But afterwards, before the kidnappers could get their ransom, they turned on each other. I was passed from place to place and eventually sold to human traffickers. You came to see me. Won't your boyfriend be upset? You are my only one, no words. Don't say things like that. It disgusts me. Just then, Chu Yunfei appeared. He was crying, looking at Liu Ryan. So it's true. You really did treat me as his substitute. After saying that, Chu Yunfei turned and ran away. Liu Ryan panicked immediately. She hesitated, glanced at me, and in the end, chose to run after Chu Yunfei. It was 2 weeks before I was discharged from the hospital. When I got home, I just wanted to see my room after all these years. But just as I was about to open the bedroom door, my mom stopped me. But it was too late. I had already opened the door. In that instant, my face froze. When I was trapped in the mountains, I imagined many times what my mom might be doing. Did she miss me a lot? Would she always touch the things I had left behind? Would she sit in my room and cry often? I didn't want those things to happen, but I also never thought my mom would tear down my room. Yes, tear it down. I liked my small and cozy bedroom. Now, the wall had been knocked down, and the room next door was expanded to make it much larger. Posters of Chu Yunfei hung on the wall. I didn't look too closely. I thought it was myself. He looked about 70 to 80% like me, but with makeup on, he was a perfect 10. What was the goal here? Riding on my fame? I had been missing for 3 years. Was there even any fame left for him to ride on? I'll have Aunt Lee prepare another room for you, my mom said from behind me, her voice hesitant and uncertain. I didn't think you'd be able to come back. So you thought I was dead? You didn't even see my body. Why didn't you believe I could return? Of course, I didn't believe it. Do you think he would wait for me forever? DeLong thought for a moment and said, who doesn't want to be remembered? To not be forgotten after just a short 3 years. Or even worse, to be completely replaced by someone else. I left the house that no longer felt like mine. As I dragged my suitcase, I turned on the phone I hadn't used in the 3 years I'd been away, and logged into Weibo. I wanted to tell my fans that I had returned, but I wasn't sure if anyone still remembered me. The entertainment industry changes so fast, and now Chu Yunfei had taken my place. Would people still like me again? I bit my lip, reflecting on my own situation. I typed something casually. Faded film emperor returns, no words, free for 0 yuan. Not long after, I dominated the trending searches. Gu Wuyan posted on Weibo, the famous male god is back. The film emperor has returned. So many exclamations. I held back my tears, clicking one by one. The screen was filled with fans expressing how much they missed me. He disappeared. Where has he been these past few years? I heard he was kidnapped. Is it true? Wow! I missed him so much. I've rewatched his movies 800 times. Can we see new ones? Some were emotional, while others were more blunt. Finally, he's back. Finally, someone can put that fake version in check. Terrible acting, always pushing the marketing agenda. Tears welled up in my eyes. I'm cringing on her behalf. Why don't you just report Chu Yunfei's ID number already? Finally, I took a deep breath, letting out a sigh of relief. Chu Yunfei, you were a perfect substitute. But there are things you can never take from me. All these years standing on my shoulders. You've enjoyed your fame enough, but I will make you realize. The fruit you picked, though sweet, was poisoned. I returned to the house I had bought 3 years ago. I hadn't spent much time there, and it didn't have much life to it, but that didn't matter anymore. The most important thing now was my comeback. An old friend reached out to inform me. An experienced director in the industry was casting for a new film. I wanted to audition. I soaked in a hot bath, washing away the wear and tear of these past years. I threw away the worn-out clothes I had been wearing for so long. After stepping out of the bath, I made myself a cup of hot tea. In those years in the mountains, my appearance had deteriorated greatly. My skin no longer as good as before, and more than a few signs of weathering had appeared. But fortunately, beauty wasn't my only trump card, and actors never win by just being fresh-faced. For the next 2 days, I stayed home practicing my craft, reading script excerpts my friend had shared with me. He had introduced me to the director, and once the director heard it was me, he immediately agreed. Well, I was preparing for everything. My mom and Liu Ryan kept contacting me, asking me to come home. They wanted to take care of me, but I scoffed, saying the same thing. Kick Chu Yunfei out and I'll come back. Chu Yunfei hated being a substitute. But did I enjoy being replaced? Yet somehow it was still my fault. Stop targeting Yunfei. My mom was almost in tears. Targeting me? Suddenly, I wanted to laugh. It's not your fault, Mom. It's mine. I came back at the wrong time. Blame me for not returning sooner. That's why Chu Yunfei was able to take everything from me. But why was everything that belonged to me so easily taken? I could accept losing love. But family too. Is there nothing in this world that is unbreakable? 2 days later, I went to the audition alone. Funny to think, I was already famous before even making my debut. For so many years, I was always the center of attention. At 27, it should have been the peak of my career. But in a blink, I had regressed into a supporting role. Those 3 years of hardship made me appreciate just being alive. So there wasn't much of a sense of loss anymore. I wore a thick down jacket, a mask on my face, sitting outside the venue. The wait for an audition with a veteran director was intense. Well-known celebrities mixed with the crowd like anyone else. Naturally, no one noticed me. I was resting my eyes. When the murmurs beside me caught my attention, Chu Yunfei had arrived. I opened my eyes, only to see him surrounded by people as he stepped off the van. Liu Ryan personally accompanied him, draping a coat over his shoulders. He was living the life I once had. He was luckier than me, because my mom was there too, carrying a thermos. This is the bird's nest porridge I made. Have some later to nourish your stomach. He treated me with such care and tenderness, something I never received. My eyes stung, making it hard to keep them open. I stood up and moved away. But Chu Yunfei was a hot topic, no matter where I went. People were talking about him. Chu Yunfei is here. And President Liu came with him. President Liu is an investor. And with his face ... Director Chen has been working on this script for years. He once publicly said the male lead's appearance was based on a real person, and that person was Gu Wuyan. What a shame! Gu Wuyan couldn't make it. Chu Yunfei, the substitute, hit the jackpot again. I curled my lips into a cold smile. Why couldn't I come? Here I am, aren't I? Veteran directors sure know how to stir things up. I had prepared for a solo audition, but he suddenly informed me that Gu Wuyan and Chu Yunfei would have a face-off. As soon as those words were spoken, the crowd buzzed with excitement. Gu Wuyan actually showed up. So what if he's here? Right now, the industry's golden boy is Chu Yunfei. That comment spread, quickly met with scoffs of disdain from the people around. Everyone knows Chu Yunfei's limits, but I paid no attention to it. I only wanted the lead role. If Chu Yunfei dared to stand in my way, I'd wring every last drop of fame out of him. I took off my mask, stood up to prepare, and instantly all eyes were on me. Chu Yunfei paled as he glanced my way. I smiled, walking ahead of him, but behind me came a familiar voice. Don't worry, Wuyan hasn't been in this field for 3 years. His looks can't compare to before. And the superstar now is you. I froze for a moment, a cold feeling rising in my chest. The person who said that was my former agent and brother-in-arms, Now Chao. I had bought him a house, and he used to follow my every word. But now, he had completely abandoned me as soon as I fell. Impressive. Forget it, I wasn't going to stoop to the level of these backstabbers. The audition began. I composed myself and slipped into character. I had always had a natural talent for acting, and my comprehension was sharp. On top of that, my lines and even my martial arts moves were top tier. Time might have eroded my looks, but as long as I didn't want to, no one could take my talent away that easily. But Chu Yunfei's lines were lifeless. His movements were awful. He took a perfectly good male lead role and turned it into a twisted mess. Cut, cut, cut. Even the director couldn't watch anymore. The supporting actor did a great job. The director looked at me with a sense of satisfaction in his eyes. But then his tone shifted. However, the male lead is too weak. The supporting character is very strong. The lead should be even stronger. Chu Yunfei, your lines and expressions are completely off. Did you even read the script carefully? Chu Yunfei looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. He ran off. There were quite a few onlookers, some of them making sharp remarks. He looks similar, but his acting is worlds apart. It's easy to imitate a face, but can you imitate acting? Chu Yunfei's face grew darker and darker, his whole body trembling with anger. Meanwhile, my mom looked at me with a complex expression. Wuyan, don't make things harder for Yunfei, okay? What did I do? I was speechless seeing Chu Yunfei's innocent-looking face. I couldn't help but step forward and teach him a lesson. You don't work hard, yet you want to ride on my face and fool people for the rest of your life? Keep dreaming. The audience's eyes were discerning. And people like Liu Ryan, who only cared about appearances, were becoming fewer and fewer. Chu Yunfei was so furious. He finally dropped the act. Fool people? Who was I saving? Isn't it just that your acting is slightly better, and you have a sharper eye? Why do you think you can look down on others? Everyone in the industry was watching. If this scene got out, tomorrow's news would definitely be juicy. Finally, Ma Chao stepped in, pushing Chu Yunfei into the van. Brother, why are you bothering with Gu Wuyan? He hasn't shown his face in so long. He's probably just here for a supporting role. He's not trying to compete with you. Don't worry, you've still got President Liu's support. His voice wasn't loud, but I heard it clearly. I couldn't help but sneer. Opportunistic people. They knew I didn't have the power to strike precisely at their weak spots. Just then, Liu Ryan came over, trying to play the nice guy. Wuyan, you've only just returned. Why rush into filming? She furrowed her brows and asked, Aren't you worried about your health? I rolled my eyes at her. I've been eating coarse food and doing farm work every day for the past few years. My body's 100 times stronger than yours. Even if the director wants me working all day, I could handle it no problem. As soon as I finished speaking, I heard a crisp round of applause. Well said, the male lead has such energy. As an investor, I'm delighted. I had just unknowingly flattered the investor. Wait a minute, wasn't Liu Ryan the investor? I turned around and was stunned. It was Liu Ruoy, the executive president of the Shen Group, Liu Ryan's older half-sister, who even she feared. Faced with this powerful sister, Liu Ryan's aura weakened a bit. This project is now under my supervision. Liu Ruoy didn't even look at her. From now on, I'm in charge. When it came to competence, Liu Ryan couldn't hold a candle to Liu Ruoy. She was usually forced to bow down in submission. If they had been born in reverse order, Liu Ryan would have lost all competitive edge long ago. Chu Yunfei and Ma Cao's faces turned pale, their previous confidence gone. My mom looked at me, as if wanting to say something but holding back. Meanwhile, I was particularly curious. What exactly was Liu Ruoy's purpose? She had never gotten along with Liu Ryan. The kidnapping 3 years ago, I had always suspected she was the mastermind behind it. And now she was here backing me up. What did that mean? Just as I was thinking about it, Liu Ruoy suddenly asked, Shall I drive you home? The whole room went silent. Liu Ruoy, the cold-faced businesswoman, who barely had friends, was now acting as if we were close. Such kindness without a reason made me uneasy. I quickly declined. Thank you, President Liu, but I've already called a taxi. I hurried away, feeling more and more puzzled. Why was Liu Ruoy helping me? First with a house, then with money, and now making me the lead actor. Was she really behind the kidnapping 3 years ago? I was deep in thought, and didn't even notice someone familiar walking toward me. It was Liu Ryan's mother. Her aggressive voice caught my attention first. That worthless girl, hanging out with those third-rate actors again. Is she trying to drive me to my grave? But halfway through her rant, she saw me. Her gaze turned cold. It's you, so you're back. She looked at me with a disdainful look in her eyes. I smiled faintly, neither humble nor arrogant. Yes, it's been a while, though I doubt we'll be seeing each other much from now on. Without Liu Ryan, I had no reason to linger where I wasn't wanted. She hated me, not just because I was an actor. That night after I got home, I received an official announcement. The male lead role in director Chen's new film was confirmed. It was mine soon after. I was trending at #1 again. Chu Yunfei was at #2. The comments were brutally honest. Gu Wuyan, the powerhouse, is back. Certain copycats should just take a break. We love Wuyan's face, but we love his talent even more. Chu Yunfei rides the wave of fame every day. Maybe he should pay some royalties. Exactly. Wuyan's face is worth a fortune. I was sure Chu Yunfei must have been furious. In a good mood, I changed into some gear and went out for a run. However, as I changed my pants, the scar on my ankle remained a harsh reminder. I swallowed the bitter feelings, trying not to look at it. I ran lap after lap around the neighborhood, trying to use this to vent the pain buried deep inside me. Because aside from this, I had no other outlet for release. Finally, exhausted, I stopped, panting heavily. Just then, a glaring car headlight flashed straight into my eyes. The driver seemed insane, speeding right at me. I thought I was done for. But suddenly, I was pulled away by a strong force. As the world spun around me, I saw the black car speeding away. And then I saw the person who saved me. It was Liu Ruoy. What a coincidence, she said, getting up from the ground. night running and bumping into the plotted against film emperor. Liu Ruoi stretched her wrist and casually tossed her phone to me. I was going to take some night shots. But hey, I ended up filming the crime evidence instead. What now? Night shots, or did you deliberately come to save me? But that person just now, he was Chu Yunfei's stepfather. Chu Yunfei really is ruthless. Maybe you should just give the male lead role to him. Liu Ruoi smirked, her smile full of sarcasm. I was stunned. Chu Yunfei wanted to harm me. That was expected. But Liu Rui's actions, they weren't normal. With her abilities, investigating someone would be easy. But why was she helping me? President Liu, are you some kind of divine cheat code sent to assist me? Just a coincidence. Liu Ruoi gave me an inexplicable glance, then walked away. I'm just a businesswoman. Why act all cool? I opened the video Liu Ruoi had sent me. Perfect, you could clearly see the driver's face. After making backups, I arranged to meet with Liu Ryan alone. I showed her the video. To be honest, I wasn't surprised at all. In this industry, people will do anything for fame and fortune. At first, she was in disbelief. No way, Yunfei is kind. He would never do something like that. Whether he's kind or not, the police will find out when they question the man in the video. I thought my mom would stand by me. After all, I was her biological daughter, and Chu Yunfei was trying to harm her own child. How could she tolerate that? But I was wrong. This can't go to the police. Liu Ryan suddenly grabbed my hand tightly. I sneered, are you afraid I'll ruin him? No, Liu. Ryan, I called you out here, not for anything else. Whether or not Chu Yunfei is behind this, I'm asking you one thing. Get him out of my mother's life. Although I was deeply disappointed in my mom, she was still my mother. I didn't care how Chu Yunfei managed to win her over. It was my responsibility to protect her, just like children protect their elderly parents from scams. I've already reported this to the police. If you want to clean up after him, do whatever you want. Liu Ryan eventually helped Chu Yunfei settle the matter. The man didn't confess to anything about Chu Yunfei, and his family even received $1 million in compensation. It was all paid for by Liu Ryan. I hadn't expected her feelings for Chu Yunfei to run so deep. Oh, and to cheer Chu Yunfei up, she even took him on a vacation abroad. Liu Ruoi was the one who told me all of this. Apparently, they went to France for a shopping spree. Hearing it from Liu Ruoi felt like she was twisting a knife in my heart. But I was already numb to it. Thanks for the heads up. No problem, we're all friends here. Just looking out for you while you're out picking wild herbs. Friends, I got goosebumps. Liu Ruoi, the cold and ruthless businesswoman, talking about friendship? I was so freaked out I hung up the phone immediately. In the days that followed, I focused on practicing my acting skills, getting ready to join the crew. Whether it was Liu Ryan or Chu Yunfei, these people were just obstacles in my path to becoming an award-winning actor again. But one day, my phone started blowing up with calls. Wuyan, we heard you were actually kidnapped during the 3 years you were missing. How did you survive all that time? Have you ever been chained up? The last call from Yu Yang came from Chu Yunfei. Are you happy you're back on the headlines? Gu Wuyan, how dare you compete with me? Do you even know how much Liu Ryan despises you? I threw the phone away, my fingers clawing at the floor. It's hard to describe how I felt in that moment. If someone opened a window for me, I might have jumped. Ding dong. Someone was knocking at the door. I curled up into a ball, too scared to look. I feared it might be someone after me. Or worse, someone coming to mock me. Why, I've been trying so hard to forget. The phone had been ringing for a long time, but I just sat there, numb on the floor. I didn't want to see anything. I wanted to pull myself together. But right now, I couldn't. I closed my eyes. And when I woke up, it was already midnight. Everything felt like a nightmare. I checked my phone. There were countless missed calls. From my mom, from Liu Ryan, and even from Liu Ruoy. I only replied to Liu Ruoy. "What's up, Miss CEO? Still alive? Dead people can't talk to you." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This woman was kind of silly. After a long silence, she spoke slowly and deliberately. "Gu Wuyan at next year's film festival. I expect you to bring home the Best Actor award." Okay, I choked up for a moment, then quickly regained my normal voice. "But tomorrow, I have to hold a press conference." I knew the pictures of my kidnapping and captivity were already spreading like wildfire online. Those kidnappers definitely wanted me dead. But I had to stay alive to tell everyone that I would live well. The press conference began. I had lived for 27 years, and except for those darkest 3 years, my life had been filled with applause and flowers. I never thought my life would fall so low, with people waiting to see me fail. "Wuyan, the kidnappers have been caught. Will you testify in court?" "Yes, but I believe the real mastermind is still out there," I said confidently. The reporters glanced at one another, clearly uninterested. "Wuyan, you're so strong. You survived through all that, and yet you didn't go crazy?" I managed. "Could you tell us how you endured it all? Why are you planning to imitate me?" "No, I'm just asking on behalf of the audience and your fans, who want to know what those 3 years were really like for you. After all, pictures only tell so much. It was a life worse than that of pigs or dogs. Are you satisfied? When you return to the screen, will you have any psychological trauma?" The reporters' questions were full of arrogance, as if each one tried to outdo the last. I thought I was strong, but under all those piercing stares, I could barely hold it together. Some sleazy male reporters with twisted humor, and countless vicious questions followed. "Wuyan, were you ever used as a stud?" I nearly lost my balance, my mind spiraling into chaos. All I wanted to do now was kill someone. Just when I was about to lose control, a clear voice rang out, "I object." At 15 and 16, I was pregnant 3 times each year. And each time, I had to personally end it myself. The person's voice was calm and composed, but only I could hear the blood and pain behind the words. I turned my head and saw Liu Ruonong walking steadily towards me. Without realizing it, she stood in front of me, shielding me from the barrage of reporters' questions and flashing cameras. "Gu Wuyan and," she said, "we were both abducted and violated. If you have questions, ask me." At that moment, I finally understood why Liu Ruoy had been helping me. It was because she was the only one who truly understood what I had been through. She was incredible. I stood behind her and whispered, "But I don't want to hide like a coward." I gently pushed Liu Ruonong aside and stood beside her, shoulder to shoulder. In the next second, I grabbed that shameless reporter. "Do you think being violated was the worst part? That was just the beginning. The real torture is something you could never imagine. But who gave you the right to question me? If you have the guts, go question the traffickers. Go to the mountains and ask those ruthless buyers. We are the victims, not the criminals. We are not the criminals." I finished speaking and threw the reporter aside. Liu Ruoy, ever perceptive, handed me a disinfectant wipe. I wiped my hands. "We are clean. The dirt belongs to others," Liu Ruoy told me. I nodded, genuinely agreeing from the depths of my heart. "You're right. No wonder she's the brilliant CEO of Huabi." Applause gradually started to rise from the audience. This news was causing a sensation. But for once, it seemed like the attention was positive. At least Liu Ruoy and I made sure everyone knew that victims are blameless. Those spreading the idea of victim blaming were wrong. I would get back on the screen and win Best Actor. Had asterisk to live well. No one could ruin my life. "President Liu, do you hope to become an outstanding entrepreneur?" I looked at Liu Ruoy, smiling as I asked. She shrugged slightly, but her usual sharpness remained. I'll focus on inheriting the family business first, she said. With all the money your family has, when will you and Liu Ryan ever divide it? Divide what? I prefer to enjoy it all to myself. Liu Rui's gaze instantly turned sharp. Don't worry, it won't be long. I was just joking, I said quickly. Whether or not you become a top entrepreneur has nothing to do with me. But you did give me a big task, pushing me to win Best Actor. Liu Su, you're putting the pressure on me. That's not it, she replied. Tomorrow, the truth behind the kidnapping 3 years ago will come out. Liu Rui gave me a silent look. Oh, I muttered, feeling a little awkward. After all, I had always suspected she was behind the kidnapping. Liu Rui was still playing mysterious. She told me both she and I had been set up by the same person. Then she challenged me to guess who it was. I couldn't figure it out. We were on completely different levels, Liu Rui and I. No matter how famous I was still just an actor. My wealth was nothing compared to hers. Who would see us both as threats at the same time? I couldn't wrap my head around it. Liu Rui told me to stop overthinking it. Go memorize your lines before you burn out your brain. Liu Rui said. I felt furious but helpless. Just watch the news tomorrow and you'll understand. With that, she vanished into the night. I had no choice but to go home. But how could I focus on memorizing lines? I kept thinking, who could be the common enemy between Liu Rui and me? There were only a few people we both knew. Liu Ryan, her parents, and, wait, Liu Ryan's mother. I recalled the time after my audition, when I bumped into her and her expression turned ice cold. Why, first, she clearly disapproved of me. But I felt there was something more. Back then, I was tricked by my former company into attending a gathering. I accidentally walked into a private room, where I saw her with a young man, doing something indescribable. That man was quite young, definitely not Chairman Shen. Could it be that the kidnapping was orchestrated by Liu Ryan's mother? She might have used Liu Ryan to lure me in, had me abducted, and didn't intend to let me go, planning to sell me off and torture me slowly. Once I pieced it together, I immediately contacted Liu Rui. She confirmed my suspicion, so it was true. I gritted my teeth as a wave of hatred spread through me. Time passed quickly, and the next day arrived. Liu Ryan caused a major stir. She assisted the police in taking down a huge human trafficking ring, and one of the key sellers was none other than the wife of Shen Group's chairman, Liu Ryan's own mother. She wasn't trafficking people for money, but out of spite. She despised Liu Rui for standing in the way of her daughter, so she took matters into her own hands. And because I had stumbled upon her dirty secret, she didn't trust me. But she never expected that Liu Rui and I would survive, stronger than ever. 3 years that had changed us beyond recognition. She never imagined that I could come back, stand before the camera again, and add more fuel to the fire of her scandal. In the end, Mrs. Shen was sent to prison, and people from all walks of society were shocked. All the blame was directed at the Shen Group. In just a few days, their stock plummeted continuously. Even Chairman Shen's public apology couldn't fix it. In the end, he was forced to hand over the company and shares to his daughter by his first wife Liu Rui, completely cutting off Liu Ryan, who had no blood relation to Mrs. Shen. That was the only way to calm down some of the outrage. Liu Rui had won. Now that she had taken full control of the family power, her next step would be figuring out how to keep everything for herself. Liu Ryan might not be able to support Chu Yunfei as his benefactor anymore. A thought crossed my mind. The news quickly broke about Chu Yunfei. He was being sued. It turned out that he had leaked all the details of my abduction to the press, including the fact that I could no longer have children. The plaintiff was my mother. The one suing him was actually my mom. I was shocked. Weren't she and Chu Yunfei close? Why? I asked as my mother tightly held my hand. Foolish child, you're my only child. Yunfei has no parents, and after you went missing, he stayed by my side, acting like a filial son. I was really grateful to him. I treated him like my own son. I thought that if we never found you, I would leave my estate to him as a way to repay him for taking care of me. But he was just too greedy. You never stood in his way. Yet he threatened me and Liu Ryan. He said if we didn't put him first, he would tell the reporters everything about your ordeal. You're still so young. I didn't want you to suffer under the public's judgment. So my mom was filled with regret, holding me close, heartbroken. I never thought you'd be competing with him as soon as you got out of the hospital. Liu Ryan even took him abroad to calm him down. But still, it all came to this. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mom, if I never came back, would you have let Chu Yunfei replace me? Would you have forgotten me? My mom was speechless, unable to respond. I bit my lip. But in the end, I chose to hug her. It's okay, everything is over now. At least, I hope it really is over. Then Liu Ryan came to see me. She knelt down in front of me. She said she didn't know anything, and from now on, she would cut ties with her mother. I believe her, I really do. But there's no going back for us. It doesn't matter whether she still loves Chu Yunfei. The fact is, she shared a past with him. I can't trust someone who could replace me at any moment. Even if, after all the twists and turns, she chose me in the end. One betrayal is one too many. I've completely severed ties with Liu Ryan. After Chu Yunfei was sued, it caused public outrage. His net worth plummeted continuously. I heard he lost a lot of money. He sought help from Liu Ryan and my mom, but no one wanted to see him anymore. In the end, I heard he resorted to live streaming, completely following in my footsteps. But his skills were still too poor, and he was quickly overshadowed by the rising stars like Jiachi next door. At first, he was mocked by the masses, but eventually, no one even bothered to ridicule him anymore. After his downfall, his agent Ma Chao also lost his job. He tried to come back and work for me again. I said sure, but return the house I gave you first. He never contacted me again. Fine, I thought, let it be a loss, like throwing scraps to the dogs. I couldn't be bothered with these people anymore. That year, I focused entirely on my film, making sure every scene was done to perfection. Of course, I also developed a habit of regularly buying economic magazines. My assistant couldn't understand it, bro. You don't even know how to trade stocks. Why are you reading this? I can't enjoy the cover, I joked. Truthfully, I bought them just for the cover. A year later, my film premiered, and it was a box office hit. I received invitations to all the major film festivals. At the same time, I finally saw Yu Ruoi in the section of the economic magazine highlighting the world's most outstanding entrepreneurs of the year. Not bad, my sister had really made it. I sent her a basket of flowers to congratulate her. She responded in kind the night I won the Best Actor award. She sent me a letter of congratulations. I opened the letter, and at the top it said, "To the one and only Wu Yan." And with that, the story comes to an end.